Hello everyone. Just gonna light my candle to get ready for tonight as I'm waiting for everyone to come on. How was your day? Let me know if you worked on the homework. Hi Stacy. And just kind of get yourself ready. I am using frankincense, sacred frankincense again. Oh, that's not the side. Here we go. I use Young Living, and they're my fave. So today is all about becoming present. So we're focusing on becoming present, being in the present moment. And, when we're not in the present moment, it's usually, hi Cheryl. When you're here, just comment below and let me know that you're here. If you are not watching live, you can do hashtag replay and do any comments to me and I'll get back to you. So, I was thinking about what do I want to talk about when I'm getting into becoming present? One of the biggest, almost anti-being present, sort of things that I end up seeing is people worrying. So, worrying is ending up creating a situation that we don't want. It's thinking about a situation that we don't want and bringing it into the forefront. It's giving energy to the situation that we don't want and giving that more power and more of our thoughts. So, I wanted to talk about that. Just different activities that help us switch out of not being present because usually when we're not present, if we're not worrying, we're doing some sort of thinking that isn't helpful to us. It ends up taking us out of the now moment, and the things that I have here as suggestions take us out of our head and into our body in tons of different ways. So I have multiple different ways that can help people to become present, and a lot of it has to do with self-care. Self-care is one of the most important things that I teach upon, and I think it's a huge reason for the amount of growth that I've had personally. So just kind of hope everyone's getting ready, got their notebooks, got everything ready. I'm not going to take as much time as I did yesterday to kind of intro it in, and we're going to just kind of really get to it. So let me know if you have any questions, if I'm going too fast, if you want me to backtrack and re-emphasize something a little bit more, let me know. Okay, so one thing I wanted to talk about is I've been watching a new series. I've been watching Queer Eye, actually. And it's not new. It's new for me. I haven't watched it before. And one of the episodes they talked about living in today, not someday. And with that, they were talking about that they always would pass by this one park, and they always said, oh, someday we'll go to it, someday we'll go to it. And I wanted to invite you guys to, hey Deborah, so we're talking today about becoming present, yay! So get yourself settled in, get a notepad or whatever, or just listen in to me, and get ready to go on this becoming present journey. So a lot of the time we have in our heads that someday we're going to end up adding in self-care when we have time eventually. And I'm saying that today is your line in the sand. Today is the new time to add in and implement these new practices, not someday eventually. Someday I will go and work out. Someday I'll start doing meditation. Someday I'll go back to adding in my hobby. So what I'm inviting you to, hey Marissa, So what I'm inviting you to do is to have that start today. And you can start small, and you can start as 1 or 2 times a week and add onto it and build onto it. But I'm inviting you to start bringing in maybe 1 or 2 of these suggestions that I have, or if this sparks something else in you that you've been putting off. Maybe it's that you've been wanting to learn a new language or something like that, and you just keep putting it off. I have like a hair, don't mind me. So, oh, there it is, okay. So I had a hair that was just dangling, and I was like, ah. So, so I'm inviting you to become present today. Choose one of these self-care practices for yourself today, or bring in one that that fits for your own life, that maybe one that I don't say. So don't just put it off until the future, and don't put it off until eventually when I have this, I'll be happy and I'll do those things. Like when I have tons of money, I'll go travel, or when I I have a different job, then I'll add in working out, or meditating, or writing, or drawing, or I don't know, whatever it may be. Those are just some examples that I'm thinking. Hi, Rich. So I'm inviting you guys to try to take some moments throughout the day, and take a few minutes to just focus back in on your breath. And with this, you can kind of intake your thoughts and how you're feeling. So this is something that I was mentioning a little bit in the last call, is to kind of almost do a mindfulness inventory. And this kind of gets us present, and also sees any sort of patterns in thinking that we have. So that was the first thing that I wanted to suggest. And also giving yourself some time to be fully present without any sort of social media, or maybe even other people around. And with that, I really think it's good to replace a bad habit with a good habit. So with cell phones and scrolling, we end up getting a lot of dopamine hits with any sort of likes and people commenting on our things. We end up getting hits of dopamine, which is a chemical that is a happiness chemical in our brain, which under normal circumstances is quite a great chemical. But when you get these little hits of it throughout the day, you almost get addicted to having the social media throughout the day. So instead, I was hoping that maybe you would try to replace that habit of looking at a phone with doing the mindfulness inventory. So just a suggestion, even if it goes back from looking at your phone 10, 20 times a day to 5, 10 times a day, by switching some of the times with taking just a breath, or taking a little lap around your office, or a little walk outside, something like that. So that was one helpful idea for getting present. And things that you would replace this sort of habit with would be any sort of things that give you more joy and more play without looking externally. So also I wanted to mention that there's a lot of holistic alternatives that help us to get present. So I ended up, one of the things is essential oils, and I use Young Living. You can use whatever brand you want. I have found that I really like their quality and the company. So so that's something that I use. I also use CBD oil in addition. I have used a pill form and multiple other different ways. I've used tinctures that are also with different herbs, and it's blended together. Also, what I think is really good is doing something like Epsom salt baths, getting massages, Reiki, IET, EFT. So EFT is tapping. Reiki and IET are very similar. So those are some holistic alternatives that I've used. I've also used breath work. And Another way is to kind of clear our surrounding area. So things like sage, Palo Santo, and sage and Palo Santo either in the dry form in the piece of wood or the herb, and burning that. Or also I have used the essential oil form and sprayed rooms or sprayed myself to kind of clear myself, get grounded, and get present. Also there is selenite, which is very clearing, and there's also tons of other crystals. You can look up different crystals and how they work. So similar to crystals, essential oils work in a similar way. So our body parts and our body has certain vibrations to it. So each organ has a certain vibration. So in order to get it into that, there's certain healthy vibrations and there's certain unhealthy vibrations for what your organs and what your body should be resonating at. So things like crystals and essential oils and Reiki are all ways to help balance those frequencies and get your frequencies back to the correct way. So a little bit of science with essential oils and crystals is that essential oils and crystals have a frequency themselves because they're molecules and they're matter, and there's the space in between them are certain frequencies. And so they help certain body parts by that they resonate at the same frequency as those organs. So just a little science lesson and why those things work. So because I came from a very math and accounting background, so when I first heard about these things, I was kind of like, oh, what? And when I heard the science behind them, I was like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. Like this is something that, hey, Regina, I can get behind now that I know that those frequencies and my own body's frequencies. Hi, Lauren. So having our body at those certain frequencies and having those holistic alternatives and why they actually work. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about salt lamps and selenite lamps. So selenite lamps are very clearing of the area and similar to using selenite. So it's more of that clearing sort of energy. Hi. So salt lamps help with ionization and helps a lot with radioactive and what's the word? Like it helps with like cell phone radioactivity, stuff like that. So it really helps bring clean ions into the air, and because all of our electronic devices are emitting certain frequencies, and you can kind of notice this when you're holding a phone near your head, and there's tons of studies about it. You can Google and actually see what our electronics are giving off. So when possible, put it on airplane mode if you can, and have it be not as close to you. Can't say I'm perfect with this. I do have my cell phone near my bed when I'm sleeping. I try to have less things be going off during the middle of the night and have it be on a do not disturb, so that it's hopefully at least helping it a little bit. And then I will also put on my salt lamp a lot of the time. And it also helps improve your quality of sleep. So one thing that I told you guys I would do today was talk to you guys about the nostril technique. I ended up forgetting the other essential oil that I like to use for this. So bear with me, and we're going to just use the one that I have. But you can do this with any essential oil. I do this with frankincense and Valor. Valor is a blend that Young Living has, and it has blue tansy in it, and I'm not sure exactly what else, but it's very grounding, very calming, very bringing you into the present moment. But this is something that helped me get into the present moment a lot. So I'm going to show you. It looks a little funky, but I promise you it works. So you can also do this with lavender. I found that really helps me when I want to do this before bed. And if I'm super tired, I would do it with peppermint, but usually I would do this with alternating with frankincense and valor. So what you do is you have the essential oil be right near your nose, and you close one nostril, and then you breathe in and you breathe out. And then you'd switch to the other essential oil. I'm just going to use the same one. And you breathe in and you breathe out. And you do this a couple times, alternating nostrils and alternating oils, until you kind of feel more calm. I actually feel a little bit more calm just doing it two times, and I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not really someone that's going to BS you, so honestly, I'm telling you how I feel. I hear it a little bit in my voice, so like I can tell that it's a little better. So that's what you would do. And that's really grounding and calming and getting you into the present moment. That helped me when my mind was racing a lot, to especially do it with those two oils. And so those are some holistic alternatives. Let me know if you guys have any questions about holistic alternatives and things like that. I know that was a super quick course on those sort of things. So I do have a PDF in my Light Unleashers page that has my top essential oils, and you can always message me with any specific questions on essential oils. I have been working with essential oils since 2014, I believe. So I usually have a lot of knowledge with it. I'm not gonna go and diagnose anyone or anything like that. I'm just saying, for my own anxiety, gotta be careful, because the FDA noticed that these things were helping people as opposed to using drugs, and so then you gotta have stupid disclaimers now. So sorry about that BS, but there's my disclaimer. So okay, so we're gonna go on to grounding and earthing. So these are ways to really kind of connect back into to the body and really ground. So a lot of what being present is being more grounded and more rooted into the present moment. And so these are some ideas that I had. So of course it would be spending time in nature, but you can kind of do something called earthing, which would be walking around barefoot, touching grass or dirt. You may notice that if you've ever walked around barefoot on the beach, how like that kind of feels, and that soft sand between your toes kind of a feel. So that's really getting down and connecting more into the earth. So something like that would also be very grounding, would be touching the sand and playing in the sand and gardening. These are all things that kind of connect us back into the earth. Or we can end up having potted plants inside of our house. And hey Marianne, just talking about different ways to get present, and talking right now about grounding and different ways to ground. So so grounding is all about focusing on the physical. It's focusing on all of your senses, what you feel, hear, touch, smell, taste, and also into your feelings and to your spirit. So that's kind of the sixth sense of sorts. Oh, pretty fun. So it's all about kind of connecting into nature and getting more grounded. And you can kind of sit into nature and maybe sit outside in a comfortable chair or lay down in nature and kind of just watch the clouds or watch birds. These are all really good ways to kind of get grounded. A very good way to go in more of a cleansing sort of route would be more of to be in the ocean and stuff like that. And of course it would be walking and hiking and things like that, out in nature as well. Really, really helpful way for me with getting present was meditation. So I would always meditate here and there, and I never had a consistent practice until August of last year. And And with that, I've either meditated or walked or did some sort of healing every single day, any sort of one sort of self-care practice every single day. It's mostly been meditation and focusing in on my breath. But there's a big misconception about meditation. It is that most people end up thinking with meditation that it's sitting cross-legged on the floor and chanting Om and doing some stuff and not really knowing what the heck's going on and just doing that. And that's not to say that that's not an amazing way to meditate. It is. And the actual Om tone is very grounding because it has been said that that was one of the first words to have been spoken. I don't know if that's true, but that is what I have heard. But there's other ways to meditate, and that's what I wanted to talk about with you guys with meditation. So it could be that you are doing that sitting cross-legged. It could be that you're laying down. It could be that you're in a different comfortable position for you, maybe laying on your side. I do think it's helpful to meditate with your eyes closed if you're doing any sort of those types of meditations. But there are just listening to music as a meditation. There is guided meditations where someone, like we did yesterday, I brought you guys through a practice and kind of brought you back to a specific place. Or you can listen to someone saying affirmations or saying chants or singing or tons of different ways that there's guided meditations. It could just be that someone is doing a yoga nidra practice. So yoga nidra is a certain type of yoga where you're laying down and it's a lot of the time it's only doing the position of Shavasana, which is the ending position that people end up doing at a typical yoga practice, which is them laying down and getting calm and focusing on the breath. And a lot of people will use yoga nidra to sleep. I typically end up laying down for my meditations. I do have a meditation pillow, which I will use occasionally, but I do prefer laying down. And I do prefer listening to music or listening to a guided meditation. I've found and that's the thing too, you can play around with all these different ways and see what kind of way works for you. So I think the main component of meditation though, that from all these different types, and there's even more I'm going to talk about in a second, but I think that the main, hi Christy, the main thing with meditation would be though is to focus in on your breath and focus in on your breathing, and going back into our breath really gets us more grounded and more present. And so some other ways that you can meditate is mindfully doing a chore. So you're not watching the TV as you're folding laundry and you're on the phone with your cousin. So instead, you're paying attention to where the clothes feel in your hand as you fold them. You're feeling, or you're doing the dishes and you're feeling the soap and you're feeling the hot water and you're holding the dish, and you have more connection to your senses, and you're just breathing and doing the activity and mindfully practicing doing these activities. And so it's not thinking about the next thing that we have to do or the chore that we have to do or the groceries. So this is a way that some people don't like any sort of just laying down or closing their eyes and listening to anything, and that doesn't work for them at all, and that's okay too. And so that way, Regina's saying that guided is better for me. Yeah, that's my favorite way. That is my favorite. And listening to someone guiding me through, and also music. So listening to music at different frequencies. Again, when I was talking about the frequencies of the body, you can do something like 432 hertz is a big one. I think that's a heart frequency. yeah, it's all about tuning into your senses. So another way that's really great with meditation is, this was a craze about 1 or 2 years ago, and I think it's still kind of out there a little bit, but it really took off like 1 or 2 years ago, was people were doing a lot of adult coloring books. And that's an amazing way to meditate, either coloring or painting or drawing or creating music yourself. So those are kind of some ways that you can also meditate. Yeah, definitely with the nature and the grounding and everything like that, you can kind of sit around and watch nature, do some bird watching with clouds and paying attention to the outside, doing a nature walk, sitting by a pond and watching the ducks. All these sort of mindful, present moment activities are wonderful. So, what's really great to do during meditation is to clear and let go of past and process emotions through this. So, oh, it's awesome. Regina just got coloring books. So, coloring books are so much fun to do, and it's a great way to kind of get into meditation. So, a great thing to do during meditation is something I like to do with breath work. So it's focusing on certain areas of your body and clearing that specific area. So a lot with different chakras is that we have different spinning discs and areas of energy centers in our body. And so to kind of focus in and breathing in that one specific area, and then breathing out, breathing in through your nose and then breathing out, breathing in through your mouth and then breathing out your mouth, and all sort of that, and then focusing on clearing a specific chakra or clearing all of them and going through. And there's great meditations out there that are specifically towards clearing chakras. So some certain areas that I really like to find great meditations are Insight Timer. That is an app that you can get on your phone or your iPad or anything. And there's also YouTube. Both Insight Timer and YouTube are free. There's also some other apps I've heard of, like Breathe and Calm. I haven't had my own personal experience with them. Oh, Marianne also has tried coloring books and they worked for her too. It's so awesome. See, and the coloring books also connect into our inner child, because we all typically have colored when we were kids and sat around the table and colored, and it brings us back into inner child's healing and love, and it brings us to that. So I'm super into the coloring books myself. I also like painting and flow painting, and flow painting is that you have paint and you put it into a pouring medium. So it could be anywhere from soap, Liquitex, there's tons of different ways, and there's acrylic paint, and you pour it with whatever medium you have, and you kind of like move the thing around, and you watch the colors ooze together and mix and all that, and that's really nice and meditative. And so painting is really great for that. I also have on here moving our bodies. Is this light getting a little wacky now? I feel like I have a little bit of a glow. Is it okay? Is it a little too yellow? I don't know. I'm gonna move it away a little. Is that better? I feel like that's a little better. Okay. So moving our bodies is really great to feel more present. So a lot of the time when we're not feeling present, it's because our mind is somewhere else. Our mind is in the past, or our mind is in the future. So instead of being in our mind, we end up being in our body. Oh no! Can you hear me now? Let me know if you could still hear me. If everyone can hear me, just leave me a comment. You got it? You can hear me? Maybe it was just Deborah, but let me know. I'm gonna wait a second just in case. Oh no. Just give me like an emoji or something if you can hear me. Hopefully we can still hear me. Oh no. I just moved the light a little. Uh-oh. You got it back. Okay, good. Okay, good. Perfect, perfect. Okay. So what I was just talking about is moving our bodies. So a lot of the time, hello, Regina. Awesome, awesome. You can hear me. Okay. So, a lot of the time with our bodies and with not being present, we're too much in our head. And when we're in our head, we're in either the past or we're in the future, and we're not in the current moment. So that's why I have on here to do things with our body. So that could be exercise, stretching, yoga, walking, running, dancing, and there's tons of different sorts of activities with movement. Hi, Aunt Lisa. So those are sort of ways that we can get more present by being more in our body and outside of our head. Another way is to really check in with what our body wants. Are we having the right types of food? Are we having enough water? So what's really good amount of water would be to have about half of your body weight in ounces is optimal. I've heard of a lot of different ways, but that's typically what ends up being really, really good for you. Our bodies are mostly made up of water. We need tons of water. I ended up not drinking enough water yesterday and ended up waking up in the middle of the night with a migraine. So it's very, very important to drink enough water, and myself included. I'm never gonna say that I'm perfect myself, so I'm telling you guys when I end up slipping up, because maybe that helps you guys realize, oh, like, you know, it's not always a perfect science. We end up ebbing and flowing into and out of these things and realizing where we need a little bit more work in these areas, and then we work on them. So with that, I'm gonna have some water. So what kind of food and water are you putting into your body? Are you moving enough? Are you resting enough? And rest is different than sleep, because I'm going to talk about sleep in a little bit. But resting would be not constantly going from thing to thing to thing and adding too much on your plate. It would be adding in time for rest, adding in time to just rejuvenate yourself and recoup and kind of just be. So this could be anything from like watching a movie to actually sleep, to adding in some more play or more fun type things that you like to do. And it could just be literally doing nothing and just sitting in your bed, and that's it. And just kind of giving yourself time for rest and not going from activity to activity and not overbooking yourself. So that's something that I see a lot, typically, especially living on Long Island. I do see a lot of people overbook themselves and put too many things on their plate, say yes to too many people, and then not saying yes to themselves and not saying yes to that they need more rest. And then at the end of the day, they're just wiped and they're drained, and you can see that they need more time for rest. And so I wanted you to kind of check in with that. Are you giving yourself enough rest, or are you going from thing to thing and overbooking yourself? Are you taking some time to just have some Netflix and chill? Maybe to read a book, or to do one of your favorite hobbies, or to literally do nothing is okay too. This is your permission slip to do nothing. It is okay. And I'll tell you, and you end up feeling healthier afterwards, because you come back and do the things that you need to do with I think there's a typo with what you said, love, because I can't tell exactly what that last word is. I never do that, but now required, maybe? I'm not sure what is required. Rest? Maybe. Let me know. Write a little bit more. That way I can understand what you're saying. So adding more time in for rest and starting to say no to not putting too much on your plate, because, and this is you end up feeling guilty for resting. Okay, that is huge, 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 huge. And it's probably something that a lot of people end up feeling. But I'm here to tell you, yeah, you feel guilty to rest. Okay, so look, I end up being more productive and having more creative flow in what I am going to be doing. For example, with this course, there was a day where I had on my calendar to work on this course, and I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I was feeling like I have to do this. It's on my plate. I want to get this done today. It's on my calendar. I keep my word with what's on my calendar, but I'm exhausted. I can't even think of what to write about. I feel drained. I feel like I need to just rest, but I'm not. I need to get it done. I'm going to do it. And I was talking to my coach about this, and she was like, you need to just do nothing tonight. And I will tell you, and I was resisting her. I was like, no, like I need to do it tonight. It's on my calendar. I keep my word for what's on my calendar. And she's like, no, you are going to rest. Promise me you're going to rest. And I was like, fine. And I rested. And the next day, I had so many great ideas. I ended up creating the next day, I created the banner for the program. I created what I was going to write to post to everyone to announce the program. I had all of these amazing ideas just swirling after just taking one night off. And we really need that time to end up boosting back our creativity, boosting back our soul, and just, it's nourishing. We need that too. And it's something that is not in the norm of culture in the United States, I have found. But we're here to shift that. We're here to be showing people, look, when I rest and then I show up again, I come back as a better and more vibrant person. I'm glad I rested too. And you know what? It's just like, I know at first it's a new muscle and we have to keep practicing it because it feels like we're being selfish. We're doing these things instead of, we're taking time for ourselves instead of going and doing the next thing. But there is the analogy that you can't pour from an empty cup. There's nothing in your cup, then you can't pour anything out of it and give to anyone else. So, you know, and also putting on your oxygen mask first before everyone else with their oxygen mask. You can end up just falling over because you didn't take care of yourself, because you're so busy taking care of everyone else, and then you end up passing out because you have no oxygen. So, I promise you, you end up doing the other things that you were going to do faster after having a night off. I have seen it firsthand, and I know that it works. I have seen other people do that. I've seen coaches do this. I've seen my husband do this, and I've seen that it works. You know, my husband's a big marathon runner, and he has taken, I mean, he doesn't take a lot of days off, but when he notices that his body needs rest and that he needs to actually take a day back from it, he will. And then the next day he ends up, you know, running faster, feeling better. His muscles feel like they had that time that they needed, and then he goes back. So it's so important for our bodies, mentally and physically, to take breaks. It really, really, I know that it feels weird, and it might feel weird for like a month or so, and then you're going to start to see your results and start to see the snowball effect of having times of rest, and you'll see that result. It's a practice, it's a muscle, it's gonna feel a little crappy at first, but I promise you, the more you do it and the better you end up seeing that you're feeling. I'd like for you to, you can journal the differences between feeling like you're getting everything done, yet feeling overwhelmed and not having any rest, and taking a day for rest and then your results, and notice your different emotions when you're doing both of these things, and see how you end up feeling. And I'm pretty positive that you'd end up in a better result after having some rest. I know it's gonna feel weird. I know it's not what's typically told to us, but I know that it works. So I hope that helps. Okay, so sleeping. So everyone knows that it's important to get like 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I notice that, yes, let me know how it ends up turning out. Post it on this video, send me a private message, post on my wall, let me know. Post in the group, let me know how it ends up working for you within the next few weeks. Try to rest tonight and see how you end up feeling tomorrow. Just do nothing or watch your favorite movie, and have that sort of play and see how your soul feels compared to how you normally feel. Let me know. I'm curious. So sleeping, everyone knows it. It's so important. 7 to 9 hours a day. I have found that for me, 10 hours works really well for my body. I like to have more sleep than what the normal 7 to 9 is. Do I always get to 7? Do I always get to 10? No, but I at least try to be on the longer end of the spectrum, or to use less phones during the nighttime, and to listen to a meditative meditation, like a sleep meditation on Insight Timer when I'm trying to fall asleep, or taking out my contacts and getting ready for bed. So if you have an iPhone, there's something called the bedtime app. It's on the clock. It's in the middle of the clock about. When you click on the clock, there should be a couple different options. You can do alarm, stopwatch, timer, and there's one called bedtime. You can set what your bedtime is, and they'll remind you earlier than your bedtime to start getting ready. And you can also put your phone in Do Not Disturb from maybe 9 p.m. until 7 a.m. That's what I end up doing. And that way, if someone ends up calling me during that 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., if I want to call them back, I will, if I end up seeing my phone. But for the most part, that's a boundary that I've set in place to not have any interruptions during that time, because that's my time to rest and recoup and kind of not be on my phone. And to I will still contact people after that time, but it has to be feeling really, really good. For the most part, I won't until the next morning, because unless it's a sort of emergency, for the most part, it's best to just leave it to the next day. I'm feeling a little glowy. I'm going to end up changing my light. A little silhouette-y looking. So comment and let me know what you guys are thinking. If anything's coming up for you guys with sleep. Do you just think, oh, I can work on 3 hours of sleep and I'm fine? Do you have that sort of feeling? I've heard that with people a lot, that they feel like they can function, however, and then just ends up having tons of caffeine, and their body runs on that caffeine drug. So I will have caffeine maybe once or twice a month, sometimes maybe up to 7 times a month at most. So typically I like to have more B vitamins or Ningxia, which is a wolfberry juice drink, instead of having any sort of caffeine in the typical coffee, tea type sense. Hey Bran, what's up? How are you, my love? So sleep, super, super important. And what I was talking about with rest kind of coincides with the next piece, which is play, adding in things that are fun. Adding fun into your life is very, very getting us into the present moment, because we're into when time is just flying, when you're hanging out with friends, when you're doing your favorite hobby. I need it every day, the caffeine. So are you getting enough sleep, Regina, or are you relying more on the caffeine? maybe I would like for you to try having a little bit more lavender at night to help you fall asleep, and maybe that will help you improving in your morning. Also, great things to have in the morning to wake you up are peppermint, and because it's really invigorating, and when you smell peppermint, it's like, ooh, I'm awake. And another thing that I have heard is eating an apple ends up energizing you. So that was something that was really interesting to me, is that having an apple is super energizing. And I was like, really? That's so interesting. So maybe like an apple with some peanut butter, maybe sprinkle some cinnamon on it. That sounds really yummy and nourishing for the morning. So, and maybe a little bit less caffeine, and maybe like have a little bit less and try this, see if it works. If not, having a little bit of caffeine after it, not sleeping as much. So I invite you to, I know you also, you can try lavender, CBD, having these things at night. Sometimes we can't fall asleep because of headaches or something like that. So I use a CBD salve on the back of my neck. That's what I ended up doing to fall back asleep. I put that on the back of my neck. I took the supplement of CBD, and I also took a nighttime CBD to help me fall asleep. Lavender and frankincense really help with sleep. The Himalayan salt lamp really helps with sleep if you can sleep with a light on. If not, I would have it on during a time right before you're going to bed, so you're getting used to dimmer lighting. And if you're looking at the phone too much before bed, that's a blue light. So that's blue lights, similar to laptops also, they mimic the sun, so it makes us think that it's still morning time. So when you end up seeing been trying peanut butter. Yeah, I love having like apple with some peanut butter. And I like to add cinnamon to it because sometimes I can get bored of peanut butter. So that's something that I like to do in the morning. Having more greens, I will do a powdered greens in the morning, and that ends up invigorating me. A vitamin B supplement. Are you having enough vitamin B12? That's something that really helps with energy as well, and you can find a natural B12. So supplementing in these sort of vitamins really help. And if you have a pain and you can't fall asleep, again with the salve, with CBD. CBD is anti-inflammatory. It's really, really good for any sort of aches and things like that. So those are some holistic ideas. So play. Think of your favorite things that you used to do when you were a kid. I posted this on my personal Instagram Sunday, I believe. And I just was talking about like, what do you like to do to play? Adding some more play back into your life, either stuff that you like to do as a kid or stuff that you like to do now. Are you doing that someday, or are you doing that today? Someone is giving it to you. Okay. I don't know who that is. But that's awesome. Yeah, it's so good for you, is the CBD. Yeah, so really think about tonight what you would like to do to add in more play. And what you would like to do to add in some of these sort of present moment things that I've been talking about. So another thing is, and I think this is the last one, there's one more after this grouping. So another thing to get you really present is working in your journal, writing. So one thing that you can do, which ties it back into what I was talking about in the beginning of this call, is becoming a thought observer and observing your own thoughts. So when you sit and take a breath and kind of identify, all the different things that you're thinking throughout the day, you can write these down and journal these down. And then you start to identify different thought patterns that you have. And you end up realizing what you're bringing into your present moment is your thinking. So another thing to journal about is, what is my experience right now? What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on the past? Am I focusing on the future? Or am I focusing on right now? Also, taking an inventory of your emotions. So before I was talking about, oncologist. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Your emotion inventory. So taking inventory of what your emotions are at certain points during the day or the week or the month. Noticing if your emotions ends up being different during different cycles with your body, or cycles with the moon. Some people end up having a huge tie to different cycles, and they have ebbs and flows in their emotions, and kind of noticing where your emotions are with different levels. Like noticing, okay, like I'm a little bit more down today. What can I do to elevate my current moment? And that's kind of looking at and becoming present, and you end up noticing your emotion, and then if it's just your own thoughts getting into your way, you can kind of go, okay, like what am I going to do to improve my situation? And a great thing to do with journals and being in the present moment and working more towards a growth mindset is having affirmations and gratitude journaling. So journaling different affirmations, you can Google tons of different ideas depending on your situation, what kind of affirmations and thought work you're wanting to improve on. Okay, I lost connection for like 2 seconds. It says that I'm back. So I was talking about affirmations and different affirmations that you can use. There's tons of different affirmations. You can do money affirmations. You could do mindset affirmations. You can do growth affirmations. You can there's plenty of different abundance affirmations are really huge. Believing in abundance as opposed to scarcity is a huge limiting belief that can be shifted. So we can end up shifting out of limiting beliefs that kept us in our past by becoming more present in an I am affirmations. And also gratitude, things that we're grateful for that have happened, or that we're grateful for that we have in this current moment. I am very much in love with gratitude. That is something that really has shifted me and my perspective out of a negative perspective and into a more positive light. It's something that really has helped me in my life. When I became more grateful for what I already have and grateful for the things that are coming, I ended up having a much more positive outlook with my life. That was really huge for me. So the last little section is connecting to source, to what you believe in. Really gets us into the present moment and also elevates us into a higher frequency, because we're tying into that elevated light frequency, depending on what your faith is. For me, that's connecting to God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. So that really elevates my mood and gets me more present, because I'm just so thankful for all that I have been given. I thank the universe. I thank Spirit, Source, and all of those sort of things. And for a lot of people, that is nature, and they connect back into nature, and that's their belief system. Connecting back into our belief system really gets us grounded, and it gets us more stable and secure. So it's really a lot of root chakra security energy, because it's a foundational energy. So connecting back to our source, which source is also here, of course, in our crown chakra, and that's also our connection to source, but source is also very grounding. For me, it feels super, super grounding. And I guess it's because also a lot of that nature sort of spirit as well. So I have some homework for you guys, because that's the end unless you guys have questions. I'm going to post the homework for today, and you have tomorrow is the Reiki circle if you're local, but otherwise you know, it's your time to kind of catch up if you haven't seen all of the lives, and to really look back and reflect and listen back to these calls if there's something that was calling out to you, and kind of implementing them and starting to practice some of these things that I was talking about with getting really present and healing our past and learning from our past. So to kind of really review these calls tomorrow is why we have this extra day in there, and also because I have the Reiki circle. So it ended up working out. But you know, all of these things are new concepts, and to start implementing them and having grace in the process is amazing, and it's so huge. So that's why I have that little extra day in there to kind of start learning about these things, and to really take a look and see, where do I want to implement these things into my life. And I see that my husband is coming on. Hey babe, my husband is watching. He might be wondering when I'm getting off, so or he wants to listen. So I am talking about the homework for today, which is I'm gonna post it for you guys. There's 2 activities. There is upping your luxury game, so adding in something that really kind of gets you into your senses. Hey Victoria, I'm just posting the homework now, so I would love for you to watch the replay. So we're just finishing up. So it's really kind of connecting in to things that get into your senses. So I have the luxury, and I also have some journaling to really kind of get you into your own present moment. You don't have to do the typical type of journaling. You can do a collage of photos. You can do a vision board on Pinterest with these questions, or you can do a traditional journal. You can draw, whatever really feels good to you. You can voice record yourself and then listen to it. It depends on your learning style. There's tons of different learning styles, and so I have some questions for you guys to look at and really think about. You can meditate on them, and then I'd like for you to at least do some bullet points, so just you can see and have a record for you to look back on. I find that when I see my journals from the past and I see how far I've come, it's a tangible showing of where I've come from. So I even have a vision board that I made maybe 2 years ago, and now I have everything that I had on that vision board, and like, it's like, holy crap, like I created everything that I wanted on my vision board. And so having some sort of tangible thing, either notes or a Pinterest board, or actual cutting out of magazines, something tangible I would like for you to do in some way, or listen back on your voice memo. So something that you can look back on and go like, wow, like this is where I started to draw the line in the sand. I did my today, not someday, and started to create the life that I wanted. And you know, you end up like, it gives you a little bit of a record. I'm someone that used to scrapbook, so like, you know, there's something fun about that with getting to look back on your memories. So I'm gonna post it now. If you guys have any questions, I'm just gonna give you guys a minute or so. I'm gonna drink some water. I'm posting now, so you see me just posting. Yay. So it's a lot about gratitude and getting into your senses, and you'll see that I just posted it, so you can always take a look at that and after the video. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna drink some water. starting to get a weird glow again. So I may try my overhead light instead of, I have this ring that I'm currently using, and I may try something else for Wednesday when we come back here. Same time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, and tomorrow is 7 o'clock at Hem Smarts. Yeah, we're talking about mental health and mental awareness and mental health awareness, wellness, all of those good bits. Yeah, it's gonna be really powerful. It's something that I'm super passionate about, and is my main mission, is to help people with their mental health and their well-being. And just mental health is a lot about just elevating our well-being, and it's not necessarily only just depression and anxiety, but elevating ourselves and our mental health. It's just improving it and growth of a growth mindset. So looking at our mental well-being from that space. So yeah, seeing, thank you, see you tomorrow. Awesome. Yay, I'm so excited to see you tomorrow. Yeah, we have a really good circle coming up, me and Phoenix and Rhea. We're a magical trio, and I love them so much. I do. So you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I am loving these lives. I've been doing Facebook Lives for since around January now, but I'm really enjoying just having this sort of course of lives, and you will be seeing something from me in the future that will be a program, but I'll tell you guys about that on Wednesday. Yeah, I don't see any questions, so I am going to sign off. I hope you guys take a look at the questions from today and yesterday, and let me know what you think. If you have any questions about them, you can post them in the group. You can post them on any of these videos, or you can also contact me privately if you have a question that you would like to have more privacy on. I totally honor that as well and respect that. So yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Love you guys. Goodbye.